We got a 440 on the dyno with too much oil pressure, and we've got to fix it. Okay, here we go.
Welcome back to Nick's Garage. This little shop north of Montreal is where Nick builds dreams for his friends and clients. But when you're in the business of restoring machines that are more than half a century old, things don't always go perfectly on the first try. This is the story of one of the tricky ones.
Welcome to Nick's Garage, and I'm Nick. And here we are back in the dyno room with another 440. Turquoise blue for a 67 Belvedere 2-door post for Nicholas. I'm very surprised, when he brought in the engine with his sister and his dad. I asked him how old he is, and he told me he's 21 years old. And that's really fascinated me because, 21-year-old on an American muscle car, on a 67 Belvedere, I'm very surprised. And that's great, because I like to see youngsters growing up and getting into the muscle cars, more like some people go into the imports, but everybody likes something. But my thing is the passion of the American muscle car, and I love it when a lot of youngsters get on board with me. Yes, he's 21 years old and he's building a nice muscle car for himself. So he's brought this engine in that he wanted me to rebuild. He was looking for some decent horsepower, with cast iron head, aluminum intake, and he wanted to look for 440 horsepower. I was looking for something like 425 for him. So we got to put it together. We did some testing. We did break in the cam and everything. Everything went well. But my one main concern I had was the rear seal was starting to leak a little bit of oil. But what I've realized that I had a lot of oil pressure. We had almost 95 pounds of pressure. Now, would that interfere with my seal? I'm not sure. So what I did is I replaced the spring with a regular spring on the oil pump, which fits right here. Right in there. You take off this cap, change the spring, and this controls your oil pressure. And this is very nicely designed by Chrysler that you don't have to remove an oil pump from removing an oil pan and go inside the oil pan to change the spring in the oil pump, because the oil pump and the big block Mopars are externally mounted, and it makes it a lot more easier and more pleasure to change the spring whenever you want. So I'm just need to warm up this engine, warm it up, get it hot, and I want to see if it leaks oil. Okay, now I just changed the spring. I don't know what kind of pressure we're going to have, so we're going to have to warm it up, let it get hot, let it run for a while. Maybe we'll make a few tests so you guys can see what kind of horsepower it's going to make with our Thumper double pumper carburetor, which is a 750 CFM, which I also used for the testing. It did pretty good horsepower, did good torque numbers. It is a street car, it's going to be a cruiser, and this is what we're looking for. So it's a simple little 440 engine that I like to get rolling. Usually I'm looking for a cold engine, 70 PSI. It's like they say, 10 PSI per 1,000 RPMs. But we had 95 of this at roughly just over 5,000 RPM, which is way too much oil pressure. But I don't need that much. So I changed the spring earlier, and I just want to get it hot, because all I want is 35, 40 pounds on idle hot, and then it could go up to 65, 70 max at a higher RPM, which I'm satisfied. But 95, what I had shown on my last test, is not good enough. It's just a bit too much. So I'm not happy with it. So I changed the spring. So let's get some tests done and see how it goes. I've been doing a lot of these engines, and I've been showing people how to install the rear retainer seal. It's a 2-piece seal. I didn't use a rope seal on this one. And sometimes they're pretty tricky. Sometimes they work for you. And I've done many of them, and many of them work for me. But in some cases, very few, you get some bad luck. Like for instance, this one here. This one had a few drops when I tested last week with my client, but I do not wish to deliver the engine like this. You gotta take off the engine, turn the engine upside down, remove the oil pan, remove the retainer, and put another seal. Try it again, and hopefully it doesn't leak. But this time I took out the spring from the oil pump, put in something hopefully less pressure. So I'm gonna get it started, run it, get it hot, and see if it leaks. And if it does, it does. We're gonna have to change it anyways. At the same time, what kind of HP we're gonna get out of it. You know, I had Nick's father here, looked at it. He saw a little oil stand coming down. He goes, Nick, it might stop on its own. But I believe it will not stop on its own. Meanwhile, Nick says, you know, it's nice to have a car parked and you have no oil leaks. Same here. I hate to see an engine with an oil leak, especially when it's built by Nick's garage. So let's do our best, let's fix it, and let's see how it goes. All right, let's turn on the water line. Let's turn on the battery charger. Let me see that. Okay, water line, main switch. And right now, let's open up the computer. Okay, it's gonna take a few seconds. Yep, it's got almost 93, 94 pounds of pressure at 5,400 RPM. It's a bit way too much. These were the results last week when I was testing the engine with my client. And the reason why the engine is still on the dyno, I just wanted to get a spring replaced this morning, which I received for the oil pump, so I can drop the oil pressure. And then you know what, I don't know if it has any effect with the oil pump pressure versus the rear seal, because I know I had almost 95 foot-pounds of pressure. I doubt it, but you know what, let me warm it up and see how it goes. We pulled out 511 foot-pounds of torque at 4,000 RPM and pulled out 446 horsepower at 5,000 RPM. And the oil pressure is way too high. So anyways, we got a good little engine here for a street car, and I'm pretty happy with it myself. We've got a 440 with a 30 oval bore, factory stroke of 3.750. We have a cylinder pressure of 185 psi. The timing is already set up. The air-fuel ratio is set up. Of course, he's going to buy his own carburetor, so I'm just going to use this carburetor for now for testing on the dynamometer, which we're going to place one on order for him in the future. But in the meantime, we're going to test it with the Thumper carburetor that works well for me on every dyno test I've done here. Or should I say when I use it very often. Okay, 4.350, 4.350, which is bore. Then we go to a stroke of 3.750. So we're going to start at 2,800, finish at 55. It's a 445.8 cubic inch when it's a 30 oval bore. It is a factory 440 with a factory cast iron cylinder heads 906. We did a multi-angle valve job with very slight porting work on the bore area, very small. And we're using a dual plane Performer RPM intake manifold with a 750 CFM, and we're ready to go. Okay, here we go. Wow, oil pressure dropping. Look. super lean on idle. I gotta richen it out. Okay, here we go.
Nick has got the 440 dialed in and idling smoothly. So far, there's no oil underneath.
Okay, let's rev it up a little bit.
But Nick wants to take the engine up to speed.
Okay, let's go. Okay, the oil pressure went to 62 pounds or so, which is great because we're under 6,000 RPM. Okay, let it get warmed up. Here we go. Oil pressure is right where I want it. Okay, here we go. Yeah, right over here. That's the oil pressure at mid 5,000 RPMs. Horsepower is still there, same thing. 450. Look at that. 450 horsepower, not bad. Right at 5,200 RPM. Torque numbers are there too. 507.5 at 4,200 RPM. It's pretty good. We're at 450 horsepower with this engine versus 446 last week. Okay, I'm going to print this out. And my main concern, you guys, let's go see if it's leaking oil. Here we go. Like I said earlier, the air-fuel ratio is fixed, timing is fixed, so now I'm just concerned about the oil pressure, which is exactly what I want. It went to 60 plus, just over 60 pounds of pressure at 5,500 RPM. Idle hot is at 45, which is great. Now let's check for an oil leak. Let's go. Nothing so far. You know what? We're going to warm it up, let it run for a while. We're good. So far, so good.
After one good pull and getting the engine nice and warm, Nick sees what he didn't want to see. There's oil on the catch pan.
What are you gonna do? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Oh well. I always said that the oil pressure's got nothing to do with the oil leaks. It's there, it's still leaking. Even though I dropped the oil pressure, 40 pounds. Well, from what I see, it's still leaking oil. I didn't believe in high oil pressure causing an oil leak, but anyways, it doesn't matter. I figured it could still leak. I dropped the oil pressure by 35, 40 pounds, but that's not the answer to it. So the engine's performing well except for the oil leak. I got to take the engine off the dyno, put it upside down, and hopefully I can change the seal and mix a better seal when I put the second one on. Anyways, then when we put it in the car, we're gonna find out. But in the meantime, there you have it, you guys. You can't win them all. You know, sometimes you just can't get it perfect, you know. I've done a few engines already. None of them leaked in the past 8 or 9, 10 engines I've done lately. But this one here let me down. Well, there you have it. You know, you can't win them all. It is an oil leak. I'm not happy with it. I hate oil leaks. I do not wish to deliver it like this, but I'll fix it for Nicholas. After all, you know, he's building a nice car that he's restoring and putting a freshly rebuilt engine. And there's one thing I hate is when you have an oil leak. And I gotta fix it. So we're gonna put it on the stand, drain the oil, turn it upside down, remove the oil pan, and get another seal and try it again. You know, maybe it didn't butt seal good for any reason, I'm not so sure. Sometimes it could be the retainer, maybe I should replace the retainer. And you know what, you know, when you can take it off, we're gonna look in the back of the block. You know, there's a core plug there for the cam, maybe it's leaking oil there. Maybe it's leaking on the 2 plugs, which I very doubt it. Or maybe the oil pan gasket, who knows? But I will find out what it is. There you have it, you guys. Minor oil leak. Well, minor. I don't like it one bit. Here's some good news related to 440s. This is from Tim and Tom from the sign company in British Columbia. This is made for Louis Katz for Australia. I've not opened it yet, so let's take a look, see how it looks. You know, I got my personalized signs in my shop with a Fleur de Lis 440 sign. This one here just came in for Louis. It was made for him to put up in his house in Australia, Melbourne, Australia. And you know, because of our channel here on YouTube, I've noticed that a lot of viewers have become friends from province to province, state to state, nation to nation, like Eugene Katz, Louis Katz, I should say, Tim, and so many others. You know, I've been reading so many comments, and what I've realized on our channel that a lot of people talk to each other and they become friends. And this is one thing I love about my channel, and they all communicate with each other, they have good news, they have good things, and a lot of gifts. Like here, for example, this is what Louis wanted, so this is what we did. Well, I don't know what he wanted, he just wanted a 440 sign. But Tim, with his great ideas, with Tom, here, let's see what they got. Oh, wow, check this out. Check this out. You guys, no Fleur de Lis on this one. Look at this. Next garage 440 with a kangaroo. So you know where this is going. This is going down under. Let's go. Tim, Tom, thank you very much, you guys. And Louis, this is for you, buddy. This is nice. This is super nice. Look at that, eh? Beautiful, beautiful. What a great idea, Tim. Thank you. Tim, Tom, Louis Katz, and all our viewers, thank you very much, you guys. And hope you enjoyed our day here in the dining room looking at a 440. Performed well, except for the oil leak. Back on the drawing board, try to fix that little messy oil leak that I can't stand. But anyways, it has to be done. Guys, thanks for watching us here on NewAge Garage. Thank you. And you guys, if you look down below the video, we have a whole bunch of merchandise that you guys can buy. So whatever you like, buy it, love it, wear it, and enjoy it. and help spread the word of Nick's Garage. And if you have some time, check out our Patreon page. We have extra content and you guys can watch it and take it from there. And we'll see you next time.